Live from the BOD studio, it is Playin and Slayin, episode number 95, creeping towards 100, joined by Hall of Famer Troy Weiss and our good buddy Raph Cordero, the chief goon of Goonhammer.
God, you can't say that anymore.
Welcome, gentlemen. Glad to be here with you on the mics again. How we doing?
Awesome.
Doing great as always. Thanks for letting me crash the party.
No, anytime.
Wouldn't be a party without Raph. Speaking of, it wouldn't be a party. I'm not even going to talk about what we're talking about tonight because it's just kind of the usual banter, what we've been doing. And then we will have a segment where we talk about how do you game more. So we're going to call episode 95 just Game Harder.
There we go.
We'll go
With
from there. But when you are playing and slaying, it is important to stay hydrated. So let's focus on the main segment of this episode. What are we drinking? Raph, let's head your way first.
Yeah, so as it's been with every episode I've been on, it is a Workforce Brewing really decent lager. This just won a medal at the Great American Beer Festival. His trophy rack is getting full. Just a crisp, light lager, really good American lager. I had a party here, like a cookout party a couple weeks ago. And we know the brewer well enough that they came with their kids, and he just showed up with a giant case of beer. And he's like, I hope it's okay that I brought beer. And I was like, this is what I was hoping you were going to bring. Because I'm about to run through everything I've got at this party.
Excellent.
That
really, is a good one.
Yep. Just really decent.
It is really decent. Yeah. Smooth. All right. What does a Hall of Famer drink when recording episode 95?
So, and I don't know if I'll tell people what I'm not really a Hall of Famer. Well, maybe I really am, but not really.
So real quick, you are a Hall of Famer.
Is this a Hollywood?
Hollywood
Troy situation.
So Troy and his wrestling team from high school were elected to I'm going to slaughter the pronunciation.
Sebastopol. Yeah, just like the Russian city. Yep.
Sebastopol High School Hall of Fame. So
what? That's awesome.
Went up for the presentation. I hear enjoyed kind of standing up there with his former teammates as they were elected to the Hall of Fame. So I'm now calling Troy a Hall of Famer.
A bunch of old guys. So I might have graduated, I'll date myself. 40 years. It's been 40 years since I graduated high school. So a lot of old guys. Some still in okay shape, some maybe not as much, but it was great. I hadn't seen a lot. So a lot of those guys I had not seen in 40 years. So, but it was fun. Yeah, it was an honor. It was awesome. And then I had to go up. And I was not the guys that got us there. I was along for the ride. But I was very happy to go up and be in that. So it's the end of summer. So I was cleaning out the summer beers out of the fridge. So New Glarus Serendipity, which is a fruity kind of lager. I think it's like a berry. I don't know if it's strawberry, but it's not. I don't want to say strawberry, but it's got definitely a berry flavor with the beer, kind of sweet. Definitely kind of that summer. You want to drink it when it's hot outside kind of thing. But the last one left in my fridge, I'm like, all right, we'll do that one. And New Glarus, for people that still only sold in Wisconsin. This is one of they do some signature brews or whatever they call, I think Thumbprint or something is what they call their kind of limited ones that they do during the year. So that was it. Serendipity. Figured a little refreshing, little dessert beer for tonight. So
excellent. And following a seasonal theme, since we are right on the edge of fall, I have a Oktoberfest from Third Space. Yep. It's just classic Marzen style lager. Third Space does a really kind of clean Oktoberfest.
I've had that one.
So enjoying that here as it's available in stores. So anytime I see it, I pick up a 6-pack, then the 6-pack disappears. And then I go back and I pick up another one and I hope it's still there.
I don't know if it's climate change or not, but these beers are evaporating a lot faster than they used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really are. They really are.
For more shows like this, check out the Goonhammer Media Network. More info at media.goonhammer.com.
All right, now we get to the real main course of every episode. What have we been playing? And Troy, I'm going to start with you because I think there's likely a story here for your first one, and I kind of want to hear how this happened.
How this happened. So I can't remember. I think this might have been right after we recorded last month, because it was like 2 weeks after Gen Con. We had what the place I work. It was basically called Place I Work Con, for the actual name. I won't put them out of there. But a couple guys. We have a lot of gamers in IT, of course, anywhere. And it wasn't even me. It was a couple of them had some initiative, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna kind of do a little mini convention after work one day," and they kind of put the thing out and said, "Hey, who wants to run games?" And then we had a sign up sheet. It was just like a regular kind of funny convention. We got the company to kick in a little for some snacks around that. So it was again, so it was mid-August would run that, and I pulled my kind of always Zombicide Invader. 3D printed, right? Very flashy. It's fun, and had a couple. Had Neil from work call back, if people remember. Neil is one played with me, and then another guy who was kind of new to that, but I think he had a lot of fun, and it was we had to have one. There was some board games there. So there was some Magic Commander going on. There was one role playing game. I think they ran One Ring. I think is that the.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
There's like One Ring. Did like kind of a one shot of that. So it's great. It was nice, and we were there for about 3 to 7 for about 4 hours. So kind of like a one slot of a con, right? To kind of do that. So and probably had a couple dozen people in and out through that thing. So it was a blast. It was we used to way back kind of there was the pre-pandemic days. We used to have a little more gaming at work, where we would do some things like that. So it was fun because it's now, kind of some turnover, some new people in there and things like that. So, got to thank Nick and Arthur, who kind of spearheaded that over there and did that. So, and I think we're going to do another one probably beginning of the year sometime, probably beginning of next year to do that. So it was fun. Yeah. And again, and I don't know what I'll run next time. Something probably not Space Hulk, but we'll do some.
I was going to ask you to pull a whole. It would have taken your entire slot just to set it up.
Yeah, just set it up right. I would have to do that. So cool. So that was that. That was fun. Yeah, and that was, like I said, was kind of late August, mid August around that. And then I don't know, a lot of end of summer, beginning of school. Haven't done a whole lot of other gaming. I think we got some Frosthaven in, and a little bit of D&D. And then the other one we did was the that we saw at Gen Con. I think Ty, you had turned me on to this one, was the Battle for Hoth, which is the Memoir 44 reskin from Days of Wonder. It just goes to the nowadays I never feel like I need to buy a game at Gen Con that comes out new, because you're like, I remember how many days you buy it, you stood in line, wasted however. I come home and a month later it's still sitting on the shelf, and
Now
I haven't played it yet. And literally that's what I did in early September. I walked into Games Universe, and what do I see on the shelf is Battle of Hoth, and then I don't know if I'm stealing thunder on that, is the Lord of the Rings Pandemic. That's not the real name of it, but maybe Ty will say what the real name is. It
might be over my shoulder on the pile. Yeah.
So both sitting there, right there with the demo box, little things for or not little promo things taped to both of the boxes. So it's just like I went to Gen Con and got that plus the promo for both of those, right from so thank you, Games Universe, for that. So we did get Battle of Hoth to the table. John was over a couple weeks ago. We ran through a couple of the first scenarios. I haven't played Memoir 44 in a decade, probably, or something like that. It was a lot of fun. It's really fast, and you could play 2 or 3 different scenarios kind of in an evening. It was fun to have the Star Wars stuff on there. I think that even more. Memoir 44 was kind of fun, but I don't know. I want to say it got a little bit like it's kind of the same thing a little bit, even though I think they have a million different expansions you could kind of do in that. But
yeah.
But it took a little. I shouldn't say it didn't take me very long to get back and to remember. If people aren't familiar, you kind of have the board broken into 3 rows, and then you have cards that basically you give orders for, and those cards kind of reference different units in different sections of the board. So what's kind of cool is that mechanic is you may want to. I really want to do something, but you may not have cards that quite let you do exactly what you want. So there's a little bit of strategy there around some of that. But in the end, it also is a dice game. There's a little bit of around that, and a lot of it is kind of punch counter punch. So there can be the critical battles that kind of can turn on. If somebody has a really bad die roll, then and you're like, oh, we should have took that unit out. If I didn't, now my unit's kind of out and it's going to get blasted because I was assuming that was going to happen. Like any war game, right, where you're kind of playing the odds on some of that stuff too. So it's fun. Yeah. That was me, Battle Hoth, and that's about it. I mean, we played some D&D last night, real recently, but that thing Ty will touch a little bit on that. So,
yeah, and I'll use that segue. We'll save Raph's adventure for last. But so I recently went on a work trip. We had a quarterly planning session down in Dallas, Plano, Texas. So it's gone for a few days, and so my boss is a gamer, plays board games, does a little miniature painting. We've come to we'll talk about stuff every so often. And we were down there, and he's like, "Hey, I brought a game. Maybe we can get it played." And I was like, "Yeah." So one night we went and grabbed dinner after our meetings, got back to the hotel, and we played Splendor Duel. So hadn't had a chance to play that previously. So he kind of explained the rules. Very similar to Splendor. From a mechanics, you're choosing your tokens in a different way, and there's some differences to what cards are available to purchase and whatnot. But different tracks to win, and had a good time with it. So we sat at our hotel bar, had a beverage, and played some Splendor Duel. I did end up winning. I'm wondering if that'll affect me when it comes time for our annual review process here.
Ooh, yeah, that's when you gotta throw.
But it was a lot of fun. So that was generally Splendor, I think, has run its course for me, but this was kind of a different way of playing, and I like the duel mechanic, so had a good time. Yeah,
I'm totally the same. I think Splendor has been outdone in that kind of style of game now by some other things around that, but I'd like Splendor Duel. I think, I don't know if I have Splendor anymore on my shelf, but I do have Splendor Duel back there because it's different enough, and it added a new twist, and nice little thing to come off the shelf every once in a while.
Yeah.
Now I just have to play the Lord of the Rings duel one. I'm pretty excited
you have. I can't believe I haven't played that with you yet, Ty.
Yeah, I got it for Christmas.
It with everybody with you,
and I haven't played it yet.
I played it everybody but you.
10 months later.
Yeah.
Is this Lord of the Rings? It's like a Seven Wonders dual reskin, or is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You're the Fellowship trying to get the ring to Mount Doom before the riders catch you. So there's different tracks and asserting your influence over to different areas. But
and that's another one that has Seven Wonders duel is now gone because I'm like, I will never play that as long as the Lord of the Rings one is on the shelf. So
we did play Frosthaven, set up our next adventure. So we ended up hitting a road encounter that was like play this adventure immediately. And I didn't know that was possible. So we'd already set up our adventure, and we drew that, and we're like, we're going to just do that one next. Let's play the one we set up and we were going for. So
that would break my group.
It was one of those over. For a moment we're like, are we really? No, we can't. Let's play the one we've got. We have limited time. Let's take advantage of this and play it next time. So then we set it up, and I think we're going to tackle the road encounter adventure this weekend. So and then I did get into another gaming group, so something we'll talk a little bit about later. Play more games. The more gaming groups you're in, the more games you get to play. So at Midwinter last January, the guy that he's like the director of the baseball program that my son plays for. I saw him at Midwinter and I was like, I didn't really know you're a gamer. He's like, I didn't know you're a gamer. Cool. So we've talked about gaming here and there. Saw him at Adepticon, and then finally he's like, hey, my game group, we usually play Pathfinder. We're between campaigns. We're starting a Shadowrun game I'm going to run. Do you want to play? And I was like, yeah, Shadowrun's cool. Let's do it. So went over and we had kind of our first adventure. Got to make a character playing Shadowrun. I'm really liking my character. He's the face of the group, so very high charisma. He's kind of a scion of a corporate family who is on the outs with his father because of his criminal element and his Nova Coke addiction. So I'm very Robert Downey Jr. in the 80s. Rich and handsome, with questionable family history. So new game, fun time, enjoying it. It's always playing an RPG with a new group. It's always an interesting kind of experience as you feel out. So I just was like, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna push the envelope. I'm gonna make questionable choices, and it turned out so far. So getting together every couple weeks with them, and gonna see where that goes. And then we were finally able to play D&D after a lot of scheduling issues over the last several weeks. Had a pretty fun session last night. So I'm now a music producer and writer. So I wrote a song and then produced it and played it for the group. They heard a bard play the song that had some lore and elements in it, but I did it all with generative AI. So I wrote the story that I wanted the song to tell, and then I had like ChatGPT help me write lyrics, and then I found a free like music thing where you set what kind of music you want and you give it the lyrics and it constructs a song. Then you can change the prompt to get a different output and kind of adjust. So I like got a song, and I mean, I'll ask Troy. I think it sounded like decent.
It is. I think it's more than decent. It was really, really cool. It was like, it's a really cool use case for that. And because it came out really, again, that would never happen in the past, right? You're unless Ty really was a music producer and it's but yeah, it really is cool. And I love like the lyric, and we're gonna do. I don't know, Ty, if you want people to share it, we could share it out.
Yeah,
you're okay with that.
Share the link.
It's gonna be the outro music for this episode now.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can. Maybe we'll do that. That might actually be good. But it was really cool. I don't know if you see. I was smiling so much when because you didn't tie. It was in the story, and you're going, and then the bard. I'm like, oh yeah, and the bard's telling because we're getting a lot of. I felt like last night we also. I don't know, turn the corner a little bit about now we're like understanding where the plot's going, kind of like there were some reveals and kind of where we're going. And then you're like, oh, this bard's gonna, and then all of a sudden Ty's like, hold on. And the music starts playing and you're like, holy shit. And like, and then you're like, cause the lyrics are all, I don't know how we're going to find out. I think there's about 100 clues in the lyrics to what's going on. So, yeah, I don't know if I don't think I can oversell it because it is really, really cool. And it was really, I was telling Tafter, I'm like, oh, we're like Critical Role has nothing on us. Yeah, we're set. Like
it was, I was happy to get a chance because I like did that and I had it and I'm like, I'm waiting for the time.
And then we reschedule for the next 6 weeks on them. That's it. Yeah. Poor Ty. You know how it is.
I was going to give you crap for using Gen AI, but it sounds like it came out pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I generally would never like do it if I was gonna be trying to make something, but like when I don't, and that's I think a use case that I'm okay with, and we can certainly talk about Gen AI more. Is like if it's writing the plot points and the story, I don't know about that. If it's like creating other content, certainly not. Like never for a podcast or no, like. But like for entertainment and for something that I truly have zero ability to do, other than reading the lyrics, which I definitely didn't want to do. I was like, I could give them like the lyrics, but
it also opens the door. Like I'm generally not pro AI, right? But I can't draw. I'm not much of an artist. I do great with minis, but like anything 2-dimensional, I don't.
Yeah.
And I have and will commission art in the past from artists, and if it's something that I'm like, I've got logos for some of my Blood Bowl teams. My good friend's an artist, and we worked out. He won't take money from me, but we work out a trade or something like that, right? I'm gonna do that for sure, right? But when it's something that's like kind of a throwaway gag, or like, this isn't a gag, this is something important, but like, I use it a little bit for the Relic Blade campaign that we've got going on to do some artists at the scene. Like, if this didn't exist, there wouldn't be anything. I'm not going to go, this isn't something I'd go spend money on, right? And so if it didn't exist, there's nothing. And it's a good topic to have about the ethics about it, but the genie's kind of out of the bottle on that. So I'm with you. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and I like, truth be told, I don't understand how the music part works, right? Like, I don't get how you can like, maybe the backing music and the guitar or the lute or whatever, like that's probably a recorded track that it like sampled, but to take lyrics and then I just don't understand even how it gets done, which is the crazy part. To get it to sound like, and then to give it feedback, to change your prompt and be like, I need this to be a little more this tone or a little less like this, and it actually does that was pretty wild. So so that is what I've been playing. A lot of RPG, a little bit of board game, but Raph, I'm excited because I see a long list of board games, and that makes my heart happy. So how about you share what you've been up to?
Awesome. I'll start with, I have two categories here. I've got some Blood Bowl games I've been playing, and then I've got the Weekender. So I'll do the Blood Bowl first. I'm playing, I think I've mentioned it on the show, but I'm playing in 2 different in-person leagues. Very small, 4 or 5 people. Not a lot of games in them, but it's been a fun way to play a lot of Blood Bowl over the last year and a half, probably almost 2 years. And so one of them was a group of folks I know through the Independent Characters podcast that we all live kind of within an hour of one point. And so we will gather. We played Blood Bowl, and we did a 2-game round robin league that just wrapped up on the last game day. And I emerged victorious with my Norse, the Bowling Brick Brew Force. Actually, like pattern, their theme is patterned off of the mural that's in Workforce. But I won, so I bought myself a really giant Super Bowl, like knockoff Super Bowl championship ring, celebrating the victory with our league logo and some like stuff from the season on there. And now I wear it every time I play Blood Bowl, obviously, even if it's the video game, because
you have to.
You have to. And if I ever win again, I'm just going to start looking like Belichick. And then, so my core game group, we started a Blood Bowl league. Same idea. It's going to be a 2-game round robin, and we just hit the halfway point. And so I am playing Gnome. So one of the interesting things that you can do with Blood Bowl is that GW does not intend all of the teams to be balanced. It's just too hard in that game. They're not balanced. They've divided the teams up into 3 tiers. There's tiers 1, 2, and 3. Generally speaking, the tier 1 stuff are good. They're going to play against each other. There's some strengths and weaknesses, but those are considered top tier teams. Then there's a team tier 2, and there's tier 3, which is the stunties, which is your halflings and goblins and stuff like that. So I've played a lot about Blood Bowl at this point, certainly more than my local friends. And this for them was going to be essentially their first times playing Blood Bowl. So I can't turn off the like play to win part of my brain when I'm playing a game. Like I'm not a jerk about it. I'm certainly not angle shooting or anything like that. But like I can't just like throw a game or be goofy for the sake of it. So what I did do is I chose the Gnomes, which are the worst team to play in a league. And I told my friends, like, I'm going to play as hard as I can, but I'm going to use this worst team. So far I've played everybody and I've drawn. I've played every game to a draw. I've lost some Gnomes, a few have died, but I've managed to play the game to a draw each time. And so it's kind of fun because I can get what I like out of Blood Bowl, which is a very tactical experience and really trying hard and taking advantage of chain pushes and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, my guys they die to a stiff breeze. So it's been fun. So just got to the halfway point.
Did they just announce, or are they releasing a new edition of Blood Bowl?
They did, yes. They
Yep.
just announced it. I think it's going to come out before the end of the year. I forget which teams are in the box, but they're going to do a new box set, a new rule book release. It sounds like most of the rules changes are going to be relatively minor, probably an opportunity to refresh some of the teams, like kind of like a new edition change in 40K or something. I think every team is going to be able to just start going, from the jump, not anything major. They are adding something which really nice, which is, I think not every, but most players are going to have access to a universal rule where you can pick the ball up on a 2+ and then end your turn. Either the activation or the turn, we're not sure yet. But it's a joke in Blood Bowl that the hardest role to succeed is the one to pick up the ball. And I've seen, if you play enough Blood Bowl, you will see someone fail to pick the ball up 2 or 3 turns in a row. And when that happens, it's so frustrating. Like that just is not fun for either player. It's hard to see. So I'm excited about that change. They're going to have to tweak some stuff, but I'm excited about that. So yeah, new edition's coming out.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then the Weekender. So every year my local game group gathers in Michigan. One of the guys has a lake house there, and we play board games for 4 days straight, basically, from whenever we wake up and can shake the hangover to whenever we can restart the hangover, 2:00 in the morning. But this year there was a family emergency. We couldn't travel. We were here. We wanted to try to salvage the Weekender somehow or another. And so we still had set aside whatever days we had taken from vacation from work. We kept the vacation. And then, the day started a little later. Some folks had to run home to help with dinner or a sports thing, or, we didn't get to completely disconnect. But for the most part, certainly I got to do almost everything I would have done the time there. So I won't go into details for every game, but we played Chinatown, which I think you talked about recently. Ty.
Yeah, I had a Gen Con play with Danner.
Yeah. So hearing you describe how Danner plays Chinatown, that's how I play Chinatown. So I ended up middle of the pack because I was trying to do that thing where you make deals with everybody and you just ask them for like less than half of what they'll get for the rest of the game on their deal. But if you do that with everybody, you end up with a giant pile of cash. And I just wasn't paying close enough attention to the other deals that were getting thrown around. And that's an interesting game to look at from like a psychological perspective if people are approaching differently, right? So like some people like me are there trying to like min-max every trade opportunity. Other people are just kind of like, yeah, whatever, like you finish your building, I finish my building. If yours is worth more than whatever, like I'm having the joy of completing my little building, right? It's you got to watch for that if you're like me because it's going to stress you out. But that's always a great game. We played 2 back-to-back games of Root. The first one was kind of a learning game and everyone liked it so much we immediately re-racked and won again. Love that game. There's never been a game that I bounced off of so hard the first time I played it and then came around to it. So like I backed it on Kickstarter, I got everything and then sold it all. And then at some point downloaded the app and was like, I've made a terrible mistake. And like had to go back and reacquire everything. Let's see, we did Blood Rage, which is like an all-time top 5, maybe top 3 for me that I feel like I don't play enough, which was a fantastic play. I came in second by 2 points. But I had an incredible play where I wiped out something that the guy who was winning was going to do that would have probably scored him 30 points. So nice big play there.
Did you use the Loki strategy? Is that how you play Blood Rage?
No. So I do. Anytime I play Blood Rage, I tend to remind people of the Loki strategy because it is the only like single track strategy that it works in Blood Rage. And if you don't play a lot or you're new to the game, you will look at these cards that are like when you lose or when your people die and you're like, this makes no sense. And so you'll ignore them. And if one person at the table gets all the Loki cards, then it's not a game.
You're in trouble. Yeah,
exactly. So we did generally a pretty good job of spreading that out. There was definitely a lot of folks dabbling in Loki, some more than others. It worked out well for some folks, but we didn't let anybody truly run the Loki strategy. And for those of you listening, Loki basically gives you points for losing battles, losing guys, losing territory. So it can be a tricky strategy. We played Robo Rally. It's great. Again, another one that like is it deserves a super deluxe mega Kickstarter, whatever, however you want to publish it. That game deserves a spruce up with nicer miniatures and components and stuff like that.
When did that release? Are we almost entering the Restoration Games era for Robo Rally?
I think so, but it's still, I think, in print. Like, it's not gone.
Yeah.
So, but it is of that vintage. On Mars is a Lacerda game we played with 5 players. That was probably the one, like, not a disaster play, but it was. Lacerdas are very complicated. They're hard to learn. We hadn't played it in a while. It was the first game of the day. We were all trying to, like, and then it's normally a competitive game, but at 5 players, it becomes all versus one with this, like, alien expansion. And the person playing the alien expansion had never played before. So it was just, like, kind of the messiest play of the con. But I really liked that game. I was ready to play again, but we had too much other stuff to do. Let's see. Oh, this one is worth digging into a little bit. Cosmic Encounter's latest expansion is a campaign expansion. So Ty, topical for you and I. But it added, like every Cosmic Encounter expansion, it adds a whole bunch of new little add-ons and things you bolt to it, right? But the campaign is really light. The campaign is 4 games. The 4th game is they call it the finale. And what you do is you draw a card, and a card dictates what little expansion bits are in play and how you pick your alien factions. So the first one we drew, you drew 2 cards and passed one to the player on your right, and that's the one they had to use. So you were essentially picking for the person next to you. You weren't picking for yourself. And I have all but 2 of the expansions, so my stack of aliens is like this big at this point. And so my power was no ability except if you ever have lost all of your ships, you can declare victory at the beginning of the next player's turn.
Ooh.
And it synergized a little bit with the person to my left who had the Void, who, when that player wins a battle, instead of the destroyed ships going to the warp, they're sucked up by the Void onto his card and can only be released through a negotiation with that player. So it was kind of fun trying, like, when should I go to the, because I could still win via normal, so I didn't want to, like, immediately throw it, but I had to find, so I ended up winning. It was very close. And so now what happens in the campaign is, in the finale, I will get a power of some kind. I will get some small benefit, and whoever came in last in this game will also get what's called a wrench, and it's going to be some sort of power for them. And you rank the players at the end of this with an alternate scoring condition. So in this particular session we were playing, there was points for foreign colonies, home colonies, and ships in the warp. But the next time it could be totally different series of, like, how things score, right? But what's cool is next time we play, we'll do the alien selection, and the alien race I used in the first game, the masochists, are part of my coalition. And so you always have access to all of the aliens in your coalition. So each game is sort of a unique Cosmic Encounter game, but the campaign element is you're kind of growing your coalition of aliens and can always pick from them. And then after the 4th one, you have the finale, and you can either just call it, or you can just do another set of 4 and maintain your coalition.
Gotcha.
Kind of that's the campaign element.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's cool. Cosmic Encounter is like an all-time classic, and it was interesting to see how their twist on a campaign. And it's exactly the kind of low commitment campaign that our group needs right now, when we still have a Frosthaven going on and a desire for RPGs and Blood Bowl League and a Relic Blade League. So and then we played Giant Ready Set Bet. Have you guys played that one?
No, I saw your picture. It was definitely giant, that's for sure.
So Ready Set Bet is like real-time betting on a horse race. And there's an app, so you're watching, and the app is like, and they're off, like so and so takes a jump and bonus, and, like, kind of makes it exciting. And you're just putting bets down on this giant, in the giant version, this super giant neoprene mat. It feels kind of like almost like roulette, because of where you're dropping your bets. There's a little bit of strategy, and then there's all these bonus bets you can get that are unlikely to pay off but are huge. And it's like, it gets rowdy. It's such a good, like, it'd be a good one for me. I don't have the giant version, but I could bring it to Adepticon. And for, like, that end of the night when you kind of want to turn your brain off, but you want to play another game, and you've got a beer or 2 in you. Yeah. You set up the iPad and you just start screaming at these digital horses. Yeah. So that was it. We're going to talk a little bit more about Weekenders in a minute, but a fantastic time. It's so good to get those big chunks of time with your with your close friends and hang out. We went out to dinner, and Tom bought a wedding cake, a random wedding cake decorated for Hispanic Heritage Month. We had wedding cake at the after Cosmic. It was awesome.
Tom. Excellent. Well, that's a lot of gaming.
It was, yeah.
Now we should turn the corner and head to Hobby Street, where we talk about, in some cases, the lack of hobby. So, Raph, you get to choose a charity. I don't remember if we landed on one, but I did.
But I have
zero hobby for the last however many weeks since we recorded, continuing a streak of very little hobby. And I am in desperate need. I put a message in Discord and didn't get a ton of response, but I was like, I need somebody to like put a challenge out or commit to doing like hobby something. Like, I can't go alone. It's like, here, take this. You know, I need somebody to kind of raise the banner and go. But yeah, what is the charity? Where?
So the charity I always donate to for stuff like this is called Camp Kesem. It's a national organization. What it is a network of summer camps all across the country that are free for the families. They're staffed by college students who volunteer. I did it when I was in college. And it is a camp for the children of parents and grandparents and like immediate family who have cancer. So when that diagnosis happens, it just puts everything to a halt for families. And it can be really hard on the kids, who completely changes what their childhood is going to look like for the years that their parents are going through it and all that sort of stuff. And so what Kesem is supposed to be is a week of sleep-away, fun, outdoor summer camp for the kids to all just be kids, and to give the parents some space to deal with some things, and the kids some space to have some fun. And it is not intended to be a therapy camp. But when you put a bunch of kids from ages, 8 to 14, I think, together, who all share that, it becomes a very powerful experience.
Yep.
And so I was a counselor there, and I remember, this is not to bring it down, but to me it was it's a kind of a life-defining moment where 2 kids who had been going to Camp Kesem for 4 or 5 years came knowing that their father was going to pass away while they were at camp. But they wanted to be at camp around that support group. And it happened, and we were all there for her and all that sort of stuff. And that is one of those experiences that stayed with me forever. And so it's an amazing organization, and it is around the country. There's like 2 in Illinois, I think at least 1 in Wisconsin, a couple in Michigan. Like every state now has multiple Camp Kesems. So that is the charity I've chosen, Ty.
No, it sounds great.
Camp Kesem at University of Wisconsin-Madison.
There you go.
Marquette has one.
Yeah.
Can do it in memory of my own mother. There we go. We're doing it. This is live.
There we go.
Charity accountability.
Excellent.
Not too live. I'm not going to share my
If you listen closely, you can get
all right. So yeah, zero hobby here. I do have some that I need to do. So not that giving the charity is a bad thing. Love doing it, but I would like to actually get some hobby done for next time. So maybe one of you can inspire me. Troy, do you have hobby inspo here?
I don't know if I have inspiration. I did. I don't know. Carl maybe needs to pay us. So I did use the Independent Characters Hobby Challenge this year. They just started it up again for 2025, 26. And I'm like, again, trying to find something to motivate. And I had the other motivation. Playing is always motivation for me. I have an upcoming, Eric and I are going to try and play some more 40Ks. So we got to do some combat patrol. And so I'm taking the easiest way to a combat patrol you can, which is 2 armigers. And I already had one of those painted. And so I had another one. I'm like, I'll get this other one painted and have my, and also used it as my entry for this month into their hobby challenge. So
nice.
It's sitting right over there. It is really, really close to put over there. And it was kind of fun. I had done the original, there's a blue one over here that I had done in Caleb's class, airbrush class many years ago, or at Gen Con, not that many years ago, but a few years ago, at actually a Gen Con class, I think that where we had done most of it, and then I finished it up. And I'm like, I don't know why. I'm like, I don't want another blue one. So I actually did a red one. I'm like, just to mess around. And I kind of tried to use, just did a little bit of slap chop, with and then just did kind of a red contrast over top to kind of make it kind of rough looking, whatever. So I think it came out pretty good. I kind of used, I think, Caleb's techniques to do the metal and some of that stuff. So we'll see. Should hit the table on Friday this month.
Awesome.
This month. Yeah, this week. So. And then I'll get killed because it's not a good combat patrol, I think, but it'll be fun. So, and I only have to know the rules for like one unit. So it'll be a good way to step back. I haven't played 40K in a while. So
awesome. Yeah. Rafi asked, he doesn't have a Gundam to build right now. And so he asked if Warhammer is like Gundams. And I was like, okay, be calm, stay cool. And I was like, it is, but you have to paint them. And I have some, and like, kind of tried to talk to him, and he kind of waffled on him, but I showed him some Tau. It's because they were the Warhammer's response to Gundam, right? I didn't think about the Knights though. I'll see if I can't get something to bite. That would be nice.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he would, because I don't know. Everybody likes Space Marines, and and even those wouldn't be too hard to assemble. And I don't know if I don't know if he. Yeah,
but he's seen a million of them and hasn't jumped at the idea. But I kind of plan to just sort of
are pretty cool.
Walk him through the basement again of like empty boxes and just be like, see what treasures I have for you, my boy. Pick one. All right, so my hobby. Let's see. I finished my Relic Blade warband, so that's ready to go. And then I just finished the Gnome Blood Bowl team I was talking about a minute ago. I've been working on them for a very long time. I kept tabling them when some sort of urgent Goonhammer project would come up, and then I would never get back to them. So same, Troy, I used the IC's Hobby Progress Challenge to sit down and finish them because I had them basically primed with a little bit of color, so they still counted. But I've painted a unique tie-dye pattern on the shirts and jackets of every single gnome on this Blood Bowl team, which might not ever do that again. But they came out. I'm actually really, really, really happy with them.
How did you squeeze them? How did you squeeze them to get the right pattern?
You have to put little rubber bands around them first.
Raph actually used like gauze and tie-dyed it and then draped it over.
Draped it over. So I got those done, and all their little woodland creatures and tree men, and they're all completely done now, completely based. The only thing I have left is the finish I put on them was a little too shiny, so I need to go back and hit them with something matte to knock them down. But they are done, the whole box. And couple star player. I have one star player left. It's officially a gnome star player. It's sitting right in front of me. It's not even primed, so this one is gonna. She's really expensive. I don't think I'm gonna get to use her in this league anyway, so I'm not gonna sweat it too much. But that's been my big thing. And then my next hobby progress challenge item is going to be a Gundam. Actually, I'm working on. I'm getting one for my birthday. I went and picked it out. My wife's putting her name on it. But I've never done like filling seams and like I've removed the mold lines, but I don't really do a gap fill or removing the seams and stuff like that. But I want to, and some of these Gundams are kind of a good canvas for learning that. And so I've got the one coming for my birthday, and I got a like easier, simpler, more stepped down one. And I got, some filing stuff and a little chisel, a scribing tool to like scribe new panel lines into it. Because I want to take the birthday one and really turn it into a sort of passion project of hobbying. But I want to practice on one first, since I'm going to try some new techniques on it. So that'll be next month's major initiative. And I can do it while watching TV, which I don't really do painting. So a little bit more family time squeezed in there.
Highly recommend. I think it's Vallejo's Model Putty. They're liquid putty for gap filling plastics. Yeah.
I've never looked into that.
Yeah, that's it. rather than green stuff or anything else like that. Same thing. Is it like the tube? Does it come in like the tube tie? Is that what you've used? Because I have one like that comes in like a tube where it's like a plastic putty, and I've used that a lot. When again, I don't do it very often, but when I need to, I found that easier to work with sometimes than if you don't need something to have any kind of. If you're really just filling a gap or something, I found that stuff a little bit easier. Yep.
Plastic putty. Okay, yep. I made a batch of sprue goo in my like Tamiya bottle, and I've been kind of laying it between the seams, and then all the Gundams are push fit, and so I sand the nubs down a little bit so that I can really get it in there, and I squeeze it until the sprue goo kind of oozes out, and then I've got to go in and sand
Clean that up.
So since I'm planning to paint it anyway, it's not that big a deal.
I like the plastic putty because where that seam is, you basically just put it in there and smooth it over.
Okay.
Like I'll wear like a latex glove, and I'll use that just to do the smoothing.
I'll look into that.
Then you don't get any fingerprints or anything.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all the hobby.
That's good amount of hobby. Now let's go to what could be considered a hobby in its own right. Crowdfunding.
Certainly for Troy, right?
It has been one of Troy's hobbies.
And it's all Raph's fault. The number one on here. So Raph, you have to talk about this one because you're the one who threw it in the Discord the other day. And I'll let you talk. It's called Great Helm, and then I'll let Raph talk about it. And the fact that you can play on a sheet of paper is what got me. I'm like,
me too.
I'm into. And again, these I feel I'm like I want to support a guy who's doing something cool.
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot of money. It's not right. It's more about it's investing and supporting people doing cool stuff than getting something cool in some ways. But
so Great Helm is a let's call it historical game. I guess it is based off of historical miniatures and knights, but it is like a miniatures micro game. So it's designed to have each player has 6 knights, like human knights, not Warhammer knights. On your map, your board is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and you can literally print the map and the terrain right onto it. It comes with one that you can print out, and it's got rules for terrain and all that sort of stuff. But you're just playing this sort of micro game on a playing surface as big as a sheet of paper. One of our Goonhammer authors reviewed it, said that the system is really cool, and I looked into it, and it does have a really unique and innovative dice system where you're doing alternating activations. The dice system feels like not Warcry, but like not inspired by Warcry even, but it has the same idea of where you're rolling dice and you're putting them together by number, and then in this case you actually then spend them by number. It's like 6s are runs and 2s are attack, but you've got to work through them in order, and there's like some dice manipulation you can do, but it seems to play very snappy. The designer is the guy who painted all of the official miniatures for Relic Blade. So if you've heard us talk about Relic Blade and you've gone to their website and seen the painted minis, Malev did all the painting for those. He's also a sort of indie miniatures game designer. And so this is a Kickstarter for him. It smash funded, is hitting the stretch goals. I've been in the Discord, the Relic Blade Discord. He's been talking a lot about his plans to release reskins. So the first one is going to be sort of samurai themed, and he's going to do rules tweaks, but again, same 8.5 by 11. And then he's planning to do the Morkborg Creative Commons, take these rules and make your own game with them kind of system, kind of license, which is, again, to your point, we're very supportive of indie designers and small games. And yeah, I jumped on it immediately to get the book. And then if you check the Kickstarter out, a lot of people are taking like an 8.5 by 11 picture frame from the hobby store, and then building their map, like their actual terrain map on that. And it has this beautiful little framed table board look on the table. You can hang it, like you could glue them in, and you can just hang it up. It could be like decoration in your gaming room that you can pull it off to play your game on. Someone did it magnetized, so you can swap the terrain out. It's really like there's a lot of creativity in it. And the play reviews of this are all super positive. And like, how can you go wrong with all you need is 6 miniatures? I already have 6 I could pull off the shelf to play with that are painted.
So very cool. So hopefully we sold a few more copies of it now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, $35 I think gets you the book. 20
Yeah,
gets you the PDF.
Yeah.
So, yeah, easy back.
Mm-hmm. What else is in here?
So I did receive a Kickstarter, and for you guys, I threw a picture of it in there. They did a Kickstarter for a box for Kemet. So Kemet, which is somewhere behind me,
Love that game.
one of our former games. Yep. They did a like super premium version of a box, and I think there's another expansion in there and things like that. And then there's going to be a whole evening game of me moving the components from that box to the end. This box, it's like, I don't know if it is probably 12 inches by like 16 by 12. Like it is massive.
It looks like a whole calyx cube in and of itself.
I threw a pen down there to try and give you some scale. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And you open it up and it's just every container and box. And so it's going to be a whole thing for just to get it out of my old one into there. So
hopefully they gave you instructions for
I don't know. Hopefully there's
Yeah.
a video somewhere. I don't know. Right. Yeah. It could be. I mean, yeah, Ty came over once and what we played was Andromeda's Edge.
unboxing.
Unboxing Andromeda's Edge. That was our game for the evening because it took us all evening to just get it unboxed and reboxed, and then we played. What did we play? And then we played Vantage. Yeah. So that we. So our first game was just a boxing and unboxing, which was kind of fun. Some other real Kickstarter. This one's actually real, and that I think it's actually running now, and will be if you listen to this in the next couple weeks. Invincible superhero role-playing game. I can't remember what company was doing it, unless one of you guys. Free League.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah, somebody we like. Yeah.
Somebody we like.
Yeah. So I was like, that's why I put it in here because I'm like, oh, it probably has some legs around that. So that one's out there and running now. Again, if you haven't seen Invincible, the comic or as an Amazon show,
Robert
dark.
Kirkman, Corey Walker, Ryan Utley adapted it to Prime, I think. Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize this. Oh, now I recognize some of these people from the memes.
Yep. Yeah, pretty cool. The dark superhero, you want to call it that, whatever that is. Yeah, interesting stuff there. And then honorable last second mention because Raph, you had talked about Blood Bowl or Blood Rage.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about Blood Bowl too, but Blood Rage. I remember seeing this and I didn't know what it was. So it sounds like they recently, and I think it was on GameFound, and this has ended. So there might be some kind of a pre-order or late pledge around on some of that. And I haven't dug deep in it, but I saw they were doing like a Blood Rage sequel, or I don't know if it's a reimagining. I think it's Eric Lang still involved in this, I think, but I don't have any kind of legs on it. I just like found the link and like I'll fit through it in here, but.
Yeah, I think it's another expansion that works the same way as the previous Blood Rage expansions, where
it says it's a standalone, is what I believe.
Oh, is it? I thought you could add the stuff in. Okay.
Because I think it's a standalone sequel to Blood Rage. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything more than that. I'm literally reading it off the first line off the thing.
Lang is involved.
I mean, it looks like the components are really kind of souped up, but
yeah, Lang is involved, but I don't think he owns it the way he kind of owned the original one. It's not CMON. They sold
Tycoon,
off.
Tycoon Games. I've never really heard of them, so not sure what else they've done. But
so they sold off their like Blood Rage, Rising Sun, those kind of games. This is the company that picked them up. I mean, the minis look great. It's one of my favorite games, but I don't know. So I guess my thing with it is like very few companies and Kickstarters do I implicitly trust sight unseen anymore. And it's kind of like Gen Con. If I want this after it comes out and everyone plays it and is like, oh my gosh, it's just as good as the original Blood Rage or better or whatever, I can get it now. Like stuff, Kickstarter exclusives, I might have to pay a little bit more, but it'll be available either on eBay or Noble Knight or whatever. And I would rather stick to I don't back very many games and then just pay a little bit more if I know I really want it, then like what I used to do was just like FOMO, shotgun spray, all of these Kickstarters, and end up trying to
And then you sell
off a
90%
bunch of them
off,
for,
right? Yeah.
for less. And like,
Yeah.
like I will end up ahead financially if I overpay for the ones I really want and then just don't back anything, right?
Yeah.
What
and
I
so-
will say, Raph,
What?
there are minis for the gods. Odin has a mini.
Yes, there are. I wonder if the gods are actually entering the battle now.
Heimdall. Loki has a mini. Thor, Freya.
I mean, they're great minis.
They really are. And
They look
there's a
nicer than the other
bridge.
ones.
There's an
There's a
actual
bridge,
rainbow
a
bridge
rainbow
that'll
bridge?
connect
All right.
Blood Rage to this. So there is a module to combine.
Oh my god!
Because
So
it's
the battle-
Valhalla. Yeah, Blood Rage Valhalla is the actual
so this
name
takes
of
place
this,
in
but-
the mead hall. In like it looks like the
Yeah,
rooms in the
okay.
mead hall is the board.
And
But this
they also
unite.
used a bunch of AI art. So I looked through this and I was like, not Simon anymore. Lang is involved-ish. AI are. I was like, they don't need my money. This is gonna sell.
We'll see how it goes.
It's gonna go
Yep.
fine. If I need it, I'll get it later.
Yeah, it's already at 1.2 mil. So
Yeah, it did fine. So we'll see where they come. But yeah, it was good. And yeah, I remember when I saw it and I wasn't, and what made me think is what you had said, Raph, is I think Blood Rage is pretty perfect. I don't think perfect because it does have some, like you said there, but like I was like, I don't like, there's not like, it is what it's pretty good. Like it'd be really hard to improve on Blood Rage. Like it is pretty good. So
yeah, I mean it took Chaos in the Old World ideas and put it into a new game with great minis. And I think it's Eric Lang's probably his peak was Blood Rage.
It is my favorite Lang game, I think. The one, I mean, now if they had said you can get the original Kickstarter exclusive miniatures with the original sculpts in this one, maybe they could have gotten me to bite. But if anyone out there has the original Kickstarter monsters for Blood Rage and is willing to part with them, find me. Because I'm interested. That's the one thing I regret that I haven't been able to find. Because that was back in the era where like there weren't a million extra copies of every Kickstarter exclusive.
Maybe I'll have my estate leave them to you. Nicole will be like going through my will and be like, what is this? Where do I even find this box? And then down in the basement, I'll just have a 4 RAF and it'll be
4 little minis and some cards. I'll pour one out when I play it.
All right. Crowdfunding, kickstarting, game founding. I still will never get the games that I have backed. I've written them off as losses, carry forward losses.
There you go.
Yeah.
Take your tax deduction.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was, it was an investment.
Yeah, it didn't really pan out.
Offset some capital gains.
Other cool gaming stuff, not on Kickstarter. So recently announced that Twilight Imperium will be getting the full digital treatment on Steam. Release date being announced soon. So they've always had, if you bought TI4, you got a code for like a browser kind of like, I mean, not Tabletop Simulator, but a browser-based Twilight Imperium, which was a little bit clunky, not super great. This is like, looks like full digital treatment where it'll help you kind of with everything in the setup. So excited to see what that's like. Already kind of Danner and Tom and I are like, yep, when this hits, we'll get it on Steam and give it a try. But look pretty interesting.
Up a few people to play with you.
Yeah. And without having to do all the setup and waiting on stuff like turns, it actually probably makes the game fun. Like just the game's always fun, but it's such a time investment. Be interested to see if this speeds up play a little bit. And then also, so I went and bought on Sunday. I went to the game store and I picked up the pre-release box and a play booster box of the new Spider-Man set of Magic the Gathering, just because it would be a fun open. I don't know that I'll even play, but I think the art's cool. Landon and Nicole both like Spider-Man. And for those watching, I did already open one of the full art Steve Ditko images with Doc Ock kind of
Oh,
holding
cool.
Spider-Man for a counterspell card, which was pretty cool. So like there's some really cool art. Some like Jack Kirby stuff is in there. Some they did a really I think a really neat job taking kind of old stuff off the comic book panels, and then some of their artists like Darkin and others doing kind of new takes on Carnage and you know various Spider-Man versions.
You gonna get some artist proofs?
Maybe maybe we'll see. But yeah, so very, very cool set. No idea like how it would play or what's interesting. I think there might be some cool commander options with like some of the multicolor Spider-Mans and stuff. But no idea if I'll actually scratch that surface or not. Right now it's just open packs and look at cool art.
Yeah.
All right. So and that's just another, you know, their worlds beyond as they continue to dabble in these other IPs. I think this is likely one of their biggest like collaborations when you talk about like Marvel and Magic. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, library consumption of media. Walk down the stairs and into the library.
Oh yeah.
I'll go pretty quick. I've been making slow reading progress. I've been spending a lot of time playing Dune on the computer, like hundreds of hours, which means less reading and less hobby and less everything except for Dune.
You're doing well. Dune is a book, so you're doing research. You're doing deep research,
and
that's good. Yeah,
my character name, and I get a lot of fun with this, is Frankie Herbert. So I am playing as Frankie Herbert, and in the general chat, I will often talk about, you know, when I wrote the book, I didn't foresee this happening, blah blah blah, and take on the persona of the author. Yeah, so that's always fun when you get a cool name like that on a server.
Yeah, I'm surprised it was not blocked. You know, they didn't take every possible combination.
Yep. Frankie
Herbert's pretty darn close.
Frankie Herbert. Frankie Herbert. So beyond that, I have been listening to Malazan, the 9th book. I always forget the title. If my Audible starts playing, Dust of Dreams. It is the hardest one for me. It's taken me a long time. I'm on like hour 25. It has gone, I don't want to like spoil it, obviously, but it has gone kind of in many different directions, more than most Malazan books go, in like 12 directions. This one went in like 40.
Yeah.
It feels very fractured and splintered, and cosmic events like are happening, and it's just very like the scale exploded exponentially.
Yeah, it's because he's got to bring it all home in number 10.
Yeah. So I'm about 65% through it though. So should be done here in the next month or so of work commutes. Yeah. Then I did finish, this one took me a long time too. It was a little bit slower, was Gates of Fire. So Stephen Pressfield's historical fiction about the Spartans and the Battle of Thermopylae. The first 250 pages were all like leading up to learning about the Spartans, learning about your narrator, and the last 110 pages were the battle, and I zipped through that in like 2 days. Yeah. So it was just night and day between like hearing about why this is happening, what the Spartan civilization's like, how they live, blah 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 blah, and then battle, and it was like whirlwind finish. So would recommend it though. Enjoyed it. Kind of a different tempo than most of what I've been reading. And I did then, speaking of different tempo and time to get through things, I started the book that Troy recommended, Carlo Rovelli's The Order of Time. So let's read some theoretical physics.
Melt your brain.
How time doesn't exist.
Right. Yep.
And I picked it up. I picked it up. I started reading the first few pages, and I was like, I can't do this right now. Like I didn't have the mental capacity to dive in. But that's next up. And then I've been binging Animal Kingdom on Netflix, not a nature documentary, but about a family in the San Diego area, modern day, that commits crimes and heists. I've been describing it to people as like if Sons of Anarchy and Point Break were fused together. So I'm on the final season of that, but that's been my kind of guilty pleasure late night Netflix binging. So, Raph, what have you been consuming?
Mostly garbage. So I'm taking a break from He Who Fights with Monsters. I don't think that's garbage. It's pretty good. But I ran out of Audible credits and I didn't want to pay the price increase. I was able to stretch my like free 3 months into like 9 months, kind of, with all of their like stuff they throw at you when you try to cancel. So I will probably pick it back up once I let the budget refresh a little bit. But I went to the library, and in the library I found Onyx Storm, the third book in the Fourth Wing, the trilogy that starts with Fourth Wing, which is a romantasy series, which I've said this before, it feels like it's just lit RPGs and romantasy are two sides of the same coin with just different target audiences, right? It's the same kind of, feels like the same kind of wish fulfillment type situation. But this one's not great. It's really dragging, and like most of these books, you kind of have to stretch credulity a little bit. Stuff doesn't make sense, and people don't always make rational decisions. That's just kind of part of the tropes. But one of the tropes that drives me nuts is any book that has teens or young adults or whatever going to a school, like some sort of enrolled with grades and exams, and then all the bad stuff starts happening and they're the protagonists, so they have to be the ones discovering everything and saving everything and doing all the fighting, but then they still have class, and it's like a world-shattering evil from, like, this one has like an evil race of people that could threaten the entirety of civilization and kill all the dragons and kill all the people, and they're fighting and we're at war, and like but like when their mission's done, they got to go to class. Like they still got to finish battle school. It's like, no, you wouldn't. Like a war like that, you go through basic training and get out there, because we've got to like, but so she keeps going off on these like in crazy missions where she's entrusted with the fate of humanity. And then she comes back. She's like, oh shucks, I missed 3 weeks of class. I'm so behind. I'm like, I can't, this is too much. I can't handle this. I'm also listening to it on the dramatized audiobook version. Which is the only one available, which means the sex scenes are ridiculous. Ridiculous. And I'm like pulling into the parking lot at work, and I'm like, I know this can be heard outside my car. So I need to turn it down. It's so bad. Like, so anyway, not the first book I liked. I was like, for what it is, this is a great easy read. I would recommend it. In this one, I'm just like,
I'm gonna start leaving Raph voicemails of passages from romantasy books.
Oh my god. So yeah, I don't recommend that. I do recommend Alien Earth, the 8-episode Alien Universe series on FX. The minute they announced it, I knew I was going to watch it, and I set my expectations pretty low. The last couple Prometheus Covenant ones, I feel like it kind of jumped up their own butt a little bit. And I was like, all right. And then they announced like, ooh, what if there's other aliens besides the Xenomorph? And I'm like, no, this is getting away from what Alien is. No, this one is really good. Like every episode is just really good. Most of the characters are good. There's some, again, getting into like dumb people doing really dumb stuff in service of the plot in the kind of the middle episodes. I can look past it. The monster designs are really cool. The Xenomorph is really cool. Nice. The core idea is that it's a prequel to the original, and there's like other companies besides Weyland-Yutani. There's something beyond just the synthetics. Like, I don't want to give too much away, but highly recommend it. I am halfway through the finale, and I don't care how late this episode goes. I am finishing it tonight before I go to bed. Really recommend Alien Earth.
Okay, good. I'll have to. I started it. I watched the first 1.5, I think, and I didn't quite. I don't know. Again, maybe I didn't. I even had my expectations kind of low, but it felt a little. I don't know. There's a couple things that that felt like
There's some
like
early
you're saying,
plot armor stuff
right,
that
just
bugs
are
me.
happening to like, and I'm just because I agree, like that there are a lot of really cool stuff, but there are some. But now you're saying that, I think it'll be worth the
I think it's worth
the
sticking
investment to jump back in and kind of stick through it.
The characters who are like children trapped in an adult body are what they end up doing with those characters is really good, and the best acting is some of those adult actors with like mannerisms of little kids and stuff like that, and it just adds a whole creepy level to it. So and then anyone who knows me knows that I'm counting down. There's 9 days until Life of a Showgirl, the new Taylor Swift album, comes out. I've got my vinyl pre-order in, and I will be streaming that. I'll be in Singapore. I'll be streaming that from Singapore as soon as it comes out. No, I am a Swiftie. I'm a big pop guy. I've always said that I love Carly Rae Jepsen and all those sort of stuff. But like, I try to at least think about them a little bit more, like serious music, right? And so actually, what I am excited about with this new album is the producer she's going with on this album is the producer who did like early Britney Spears stuff, early Katy Perry stuff, all very high energy, positive pop, which a lot of pop these days has been very kind of sad and depressing. And the last two, maybe more Taylor albums have also been very moody and slow and like not what I want, right? And so like there's no Jack Antonoff on this album at all. It's like however many songs it is of just hopefully high energy rap pop. So I'm very excited about that.
Rap pop, I love it.
I listen to some really bad pop, and I'm hoping this is not really bad pop.
All right, Troy, also counting down to Taylor Swift.
No, I am going to Sleep Token on Sunday, and I just saw Evanescence and Poppy. Well, Poppy used to be pop. Now she's metal, which is why I like her.
Oh, nice.
And then Sleep Theory, not to be confused with Sleep Token, I just saw them. They were all three were on the same bill, which I went, and they were
that's nice.
all pretty good. Yeah, and Sleep Theory is really kind of one of my new, because they're this weird kind of they're definitely rock kind of, not quite metalcore, more, but they have some R&B. They would even say it like they mix R&B into like metalcore, and people still listen. Like this lead singer he's always like, I got you guys to listen to R&B. So that was fun. So sorry, we're going now it's the music. Now
I just saw
library? We want the music
Hammer,
section of the library. Yeah.
And Glyph this week. Those guys always put on a funny show.
Libraries have music. I've been listening to Liquid Metal on Sirius XM in the morning. So,
there you go. You got it.
Yeah.
A little what's her name? Katie can't think of who the DJ's last name is, but
I can't either. But,
our library here has vinyl and record players you can check out. So this is totally on topic.
Yeah.
Oh, and then sorry, I gotta do it. But I went on kind of a whim, but one of the best shows I've seen in the last few years, Linkin Park. The rebirth of Linkin Park with Emily Armstrong as the singer. Unbelievable. Just arena show, the production value of the arena show. It's like everybody knows Linkin Park songs. And they went, I think they did almost a 2-hour set.
Oh, wow.
I kind of went on a whim because like everybody liked Linkin Park, right? And I ended up getting pretty decent tickets. But just one of the best shows I've seen in the last couple of years. And I'm not like a huge Linkin Park fan, but man, it was awesome. So, all right.
I'm slowly rediscovering my love of concerts. I went so long without going, and I just took the boys to The Offspring for their first concert. We kind of got rained out, so we missed Newfound Glory, and Jimmy Eat World played an abbreviated set. But The Offspring was really funny, and the boys loved it. And every time they heard a curse word, which is like every 30 seconds, they just were falling over laughing at how funny it was. So it was great. All right.
I did read some books. Also, I'm behind Ty on Malazan. I did finish Midnight Tides. And unlike the previous books where I took like a year off because you're like, oh, I just made it through a 40-hour Audible book. I finished Midnight Tides and I was ready for more. Midnight Tides was awesome, but it does take place in a slightly different, it's a little bit of a, I want to say it's not standalone is my understanding, as I'm like, it will, things there do kind of have some ties in, but it is its own story. It was awesome, really good. But so I had to roll. I'm like, I kept, I don't know if you guys do it. I'm like, always like, what's the next thing to read? And I'm looking through my list and I'm always like, oh, I should kind of read this and whatever. And I could just feel like what I really, every time I kept seeing the Bone Hunters, the next Malazan book. And I'm like, you know what? I really wanted to, and I'm just like, Troy, just, if that's what your heart says you really want to do. And I just know when I dive in, I'm going to spend the next 6 weeks in that book. Right. And so, but yeah, loving Bone Hunters because it really kind of picks up where book 4 left off. All your kind of the characters is ties, like the wide range of people, lots of stuff going on, and really enjoying that. I'm going to try and catch up to Ty here at some point, but he's going to get through it. And yeah, at some point we'll just have a whole podcast on the Malazan stuff in there. In between, I did have some palate cleansers. I kind of talked about this forward collection of short stories, some really good. It's on, I think, the Amazon or Audible. Read 3. One was N.K. Jemisin called Emergency Skin. She always has a good kind of, I don't know, I'll say there's some social commentary there on maybe race and things like that, which is awesome. Amor Towles, if I get right. So the guy who, A Gentleman in Moscow, he actually has done more historical kind of whatever fiction there. Did a really good one about a little bit it kind of talks about maybe genetic engineering of, all these books are kind of set in the kind of slight future, maybe some kind of post, apocalyptic, but just kind of future looking thing. So you think the story is kind of starting out talking about, kind of genetic engineering of babies, maybe in the future goes a little it goes a little bit different, which was pretty cool. And then Paul Tremblay, who's a horror author, called Last Conversation. And it was, I don't know, but it's written in second person. If that's the where it says you do this, you do that, right? Is that second person?
Yeah.
Which I can't stand it usually. Works perfectly in this kind of, because you have very
really
limited.
Hard thing to pull off.
Hard thing to pull off, but you are, I shouldn't say you, that character. It's all centered around the character, and as he's waking up in kind of an area and goes down some paths. And I'm not a horror guy, and it's not really horror like gory horror, but it's very much psychological. And I could not turn it off. I literally started it. I went for a walk, and I came in and I couldn't turn it off, and I ended up sitting down here in the basement just with my headphones on for the next hour and a half to finish the story, the short story, because I'm like, you were in, you're like, I gotta know where this one's going. So I really enjoyed all those. Those really nice palette cleansers, really nice set of authors that they pulled together for those, and each story is really kind of different on that. And then also there was a quick, I think Audible had Martha Wells had a Murderbot short story kind of in there. It's actually kind of a prequel because the Murderbot is actually not in this story at all. It's kind of about some of the other characters in that universe. And I don't know if we ever talked about, I know we had talked about the Murderbot series on, I think it's Apple TV. That was really, really good. I don't know if we mentioned it last time, but I remember getting to the end of that and I was just really, really satisfied. I thought they did just such a nice job of telling that story, that arc. I think it's really follows the first book pretty good. But in some ways it's one of those where I think the series was as good as the book, if not better, with how they did there. So recommend that if you, and again, I've read all the Murderbot stuff. It's again, so much a nice humor.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have your point of view character as a non-human, I think Martha Wells just does such a nice job of that. Because I think that's hard to pull off too, because
Well,
it's
and
kind
but
of not human, but it
human
is human.
adjacent. Yeah,
Right,
she does
yeah.
a really good job of like almost like uncanny valley
Yeah.
humanity.
Quick, not any kind of sci-fi or whatever, was a book by Bruce Lee's daughter Shannon about Bruce Lee and his teachings and everything. That was kind of a fun kind of read, a little bit of a kind of the Bruce Lee self-help book is kind of that. But I always find Bruce Lee a pretty interesting character for everything he did in his short life around that. And then watching, caught up with the new Superman because people said that was good, and it is good. That was surprisingly good. I mean, not like out of this world, but I think James Gunn definitely knows what he's doing. He knows how to make a superhero movie. Had a lot of fun with that. And then I was surprised that Thunderbolts, the Marvel,
That was good.
Again, it kind of flew under the radar, and you're like, where's this gonna? They just haven't had a great streak, and so I wasn't super excited, and just threw that on, and I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed that. Again, I think they had the characters, right? The good Marvel movie isn't necessarily about the story; it's about the superhero characters and how do they interact and things like that. And I think they just did a really nice job with it, because in the end you can't even remember like what was the plot, like, right?
It feels completely standalone, and like that's been so hard. I have tried to watch some of the new Marvel stuff a couple times, and it's still so self-referential, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go watch all that stuff. And so you're kind of, this was nice. It was very standalone and kind of cool. Thunderbolts was the very first comic series I really read. The run of Thunderbolts around Civil War. So the original Civil War comic run is what got me to read my first comics. And the comic store owner gave me the Thunderbolts run leading into it as like, this is what kicks it all off. So that was kind of cool.
Cool. And then I had a discussion topic for library before we closed it out.
I like this.
So, and this was kind of triggered because I saw that two kind of, I'll call them long-term series, had new books come out. So we have a new Dresden book, 12 Months, I think, is coming out in end of this year or early next year, something like that. After 5 years, I think, since Stormfront was at the end, I think, or something like that, if I'm getting my titles right. Or was it, I don't remember what it was, whatever it was, the last one, number 20, right? Was it 20 on some of that? And then John Scalzi said he's, again, I don't know how many years it's been, might be probably like 10, of book 7 in the Old Man's War series. I think, Ty, you'd read, somebody had read that fairly recently.
I just read that. I read the first 3 relatively recently.
Yeah, same here. The first 2 I read within the last 6 months.
Yeah. So coming around that. So again, for me, again, in both those series, and again, I don't know, Raph, if you were a Dresden.
No, I never read those.
Okay.
No.
But I know Ty and we had done all 20 at some point and enjoyed it. But I also thought he did a good job of parking. Like, I could have been done. Like, I was not looking for a new book. Well, I'll probably read it. It'll be interesting to see, can he keep can he make it different enough, right, to make it engaging, which I thought he did a decent job over 20 books. I think it's the same thing Abnett did with the Gaunt's Ghost, in that every book he took a different angle. Like, you went in thinking, it's going to be a military whatever, and every book had a different angle. And I think Dresden, he did a good job of like turning things sideways a little bit around some of that. And I thought he also did a good job of bringing it to a climax. I felt, that the last couple books in that series really, I was happy, right? They got there, and because at some point you can't save the world, even though they did. Every one of those ones, they're going to save, how do we save the world again, right? Yeah. Kind of thing. And how do you keep making the stakes higher and higher around some of that stuff? And Old Man's War, I mean, you guys have read, but I mean, that series kind of, I think on that one, it's a little different in that he, like the original John Perry, who is the original character in the first, his story, I think, kind of ends in book 4 or 5, if I remember, kind of, around that. And I think this is like a tangential character. I didn't read too much into what this
I thought it was
there,
a trilogy. I didn't even realize it
yeah.
continued.
And again, I think the strength of that, the first 2 or 3 are the strength. And then it did feel like
Okay.
he was kind of like,
Well, he splits
I'm
off
in-
and follows like a child, like a daughter or something.
Yeah.
Story,
Oh,
the
okay.
daughter, and
Yeah.
then
and one of them,
it
again,
changes, narrator changes.
right.
Yeah.
And I didn't even like one of my, again, love Scalzi and his whatever. One of the books in my mind is not even, he tells the same story from a different character's point of view.
Oh,
Mildly interesting, but
That-
you really gotta like stretch to like, I don't think that like,
that blew
Even
my
cut-
mind in Ender's Shadow, but I was
Mm.
like 15. So like, I don't
Yep.
know if that would still work anymore.
yeah. So around some of that
I-
stuff, but
I mean, I think at some point, how do I say this?
So the question here is like, should a series end? Right? Is that what
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
attacking?
yeah, like,
And yes, I think there should be an ending. I also think there should be a way for an author and artist to revisit characters and stories that they are the central part of their like
Mhm.
creation. At the end of the day, I believe a writer is writing the book for 3 groups of people. One is themselves. They're telling a story that they have inside and they're celebrating their characters and enjoying the process. They're writing it for their agent and the publisher, and they're writing it for their fans. And I think often as readers, we tend to think of our view on the story ending and where it's good to end it. And we don't think about there's other motivations. It's an industry,
yeah,
right? Like
right.
there's book deals, but I think authors also have a right to revisit their characters and tell a story. And like, so that's why with Dresden, like, I think it's cool. I think any story in the universe I'm like looking to consume. But I think some authors do a better job of closing out what I would call
Yeah.
narrative arcs before beginning a
Mhm.
new arc.
Yep.
And I think that to me is more important than a series ending and there never being another Dresden book or, whatever author and their series.
It's nice when that works as an off ramp too, because sure, you could say a series should end. I think like if people want more and the author can give more and everyone's happy, it's also hard to begrudge an author who develops a successful series from
Mhm.
continuing it, because it is so hard to make a living, kind of in that
Yeah. Oh,
industry. But I think where it hits a problem is if like you just said, if the arc doesn't end and there's an off ramp, and I feel like I'm reading it to get to an ending and it just peters out and is never really satisfying or is getting stretched, then I start to have all of those negative emotions. But it's kind of like a series should keep going as long as the author can do a good job with it. But if they can't, they should stop. But how do you know?
Yeah, I mean, you see it in sports, right? To use the analogy of that, you
Aaron
get
Rodgers.
guys that should hang it up and
Yeah.
probably not be back
Yeah.
out there, and they're trying to give it one last go, and then it's the ego and the money, and
Yeah. Not that a couple of Wisconsin football guys would have any
quarterback.
experience with
haven't
aging
known
stars who need
when
to
they
hang
call
it
it
up and
quits.
don't.
Yeah. Now I say on the flip side, and I hate the whole they owe it to us to get another book, but I would rather have an author continue to make quality content with their characters than a series that you're waiting.
Martin needs to
And
finish
waiting.
that, but like Rothfuss
It-
needs like what do
Yeah.
you know,
Like
Yeah.
love it. Don't want to begrudge that. I'm not part of they owe it to us, but like
No.
I'd rather have a series like Butcher is created where you have so much good stuff than where I'm waiting 14 years for the next thing. Like, and maybe
if everything
never
has
getting
to
it,
be a
like,
trilogy now, which seems like everything has to be a trilogy now, then you've gotta end it.
Yeah, I mean, Raph, I think as you're saying, that's where I really enjoy, and it doesn't have to be. I want the story arc to come to a conclusion, a satisfying conclusion around that. And I think, I mean, like I said, after 20 books, I thought Dresden did a great job. And again, not that you can't do another book. It'll just be interesting to see what does he start from? Because I felt like he did a nice job of landing it. I felt good, walked away from that one. I'll go back to Gaunt's Ghost. I don't know if you guys have read all those. Again, he did a really good job of like parking. Again, Abnett may come back at some point because again, it's a cash cow, and it's not even him. It's gonna be Black Library. Like, hey, we can, if you do one of these, we're gonna sell 4 billion of them or something. But he did a great job of bringing those characters that you had been with for 20 years in real time, right, and bringing and parking him and putting him in a place there. Like, you know what? If he doesn't do another book, I'm good, right? Around some of that, and one of my best, I don't know if you guys read all, I felt was The Expanse. I thought those guys, when I closed that book on book 7, I just like felt like, wow, I went on a journey. I'm really, I just felt really satisfied that I had come to the end around some of that. And I think I love that emotion of coming to that conclusion and getting it. That's why maybe that's why I'm always like, I do like to see endings like around that. Cause I think there's too many ones, like you said, Raph, where it's kind of like the soap opera, right? Yeah. They just keep telling a story over and over, and they dangles like, oh yeah, we're never going to get there. Right. Yeah, and you're around some of that. So. All right. Thanks for humoring me on my.
That's a good topic,
discussion.
Especially, I mean, I was just talking to someone at work that started the second trilogy, I guess, in the Red Rising series. And I thought it ended great, and I wasn't going to pick it up, but I've heard enough people say that the next set is really good.
Yeah.
So, but it's topical. I think a lot of big authors are doing this now.
Definitely. Speaking of should there be an ending, our podcast isn't over yet. We are going to come back and talk about how to play some more games. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll return for our final segment and our show wrap up. And we are back to bring this 95th episode of Playin and Slayin home. And how we are going to do that is talking about how do you play more games? Or as Troy so eloquently wrote in our show notes, maybe we help Ty to play more games with his friends.
When you have a podcast, you get to steer the conversations to help you out.
This might have been inspired by some recent Discord messages from Ty, as we were as all his friends were like, sorry, we can't get together this weekend. We're all off doing stuff.
Yeah. My lonely weekends at home are adding up. So it is time to figure out, how to truly keep the dice rolling. And we are all adults. We all have families and jobs and commitments and coaching and after school activities, all sorts of things. So don't need to bemoan, the wonderful things that we actually get to experience with families and work. But it is tough. So one thing to really kind of focus in on here before we share kind of some of our hacks to get more games played and carve out that time, is to talk a little bit about finding time in these busy schedules. So, it's actually pretty sad when you run the math of like your standard week, how many hours you're spending in an office or in traffic or, doing basic necessity stuff like eat, sleep, and the time that's left is pretty minimal when you really think about it in like the grand scape of of time. So, and then obviously you have those family commitments and time spent with your wives and children, friends, coworkers, whatever it might be. And then even to slice that thinner and find those hobby hours or those hours to play games on a weekend night. And any tips or tricks before we get into our actual like hacks to play more games, but around that time management or kind of creating that space and that time to play games?
So for me, the big one here is what I wrote is make game night sacred, right? And what I mean by that is we don't let our kids skip sports if they're not feeling like it, which means we don't skip our kids' sports, right? My kids can't drive themselves. And so if I've had a bad day at work and I'm really tired, or if Katie's had a bad day at work and she's really tired, or whatever, we get up and we go and we make sure that, you know, that I'm cooking dinner if she's taking him or she's cooking dinner, whatever, right? And we warp our afternoons and our evenings and our time to make sure that our kids' commitments are honored and they're doing these things that are good for them, right? If gaming is your hobby, it's probably really good for you, right? Like, unless, I mean, I know things can always go too far and you can have unhealthy relationships with anything, but generally speaking, a week where I have a game night and I get to hang out with my friends and I get to socialize, I am in a better mood. I am happier, right? It's good for my mental health to do this. And so game night is important enough to do, right? And so the way I play is I play mostly on weeknights, not weekends. And I just stay up late and I sacrifice a night of sleep to play after the kids go to bed. And we made it possible. Like we worked around where, you know, we can do the kids' sports and all sort of stuff. But I'm going to go to game night and my wife respects that I'm going to game night and my kids respect that I'm going to game night. And so there's some nights where I don't put them to bed. Or there's some nights where we don't watch Bake Off or whatever it is that we were going to do together because this is a thing that I need and that is important for me. And barring travel or something like that, I know we all make space for that. In the same way, we make space for what's important to the kids, what's important to my wife, and what's important to your family and other friends. Like you make that space and then you don't treat it like something that will happen if you can get to it, maybe if there's time. You treat it like a priority so the time gets made for it. And for me, that was a big mentality shift. And I think it's important for folks that if you're looking to make time is like, make sure you're doing that. And you're making sure that, you know, this isn't, for me anyway, it's not like a frivolous desire. Like I'm a better person when I get my game nights or when I get my hobby time or whatever, because I don't have these, you know, I feel better. Like a lot of negative emotions process through this stuff. So
so it was incredible how this happened today. You know, there's the moments where you're like, okay, something got put in front of me. I'm going to check this out. So I saw this in the show notes as a topic. I saw the concept of, you know, finding time in that busy schedule. And Will Wheaton shared on Blue Sky, kind of, he's doing this thing where he's going back to like his drafts of old blog posts that never got posted. And he's refreshing them and he's putting them out there because, you know, he's a writer and writers write and share. And there was a line in there that like, he's talking about like how to avoid doom scrolling, how to get out of these negative kind of headspaces and times. And, you know, he talks about like the exact quote is, I tell people that when you do your best, you should feel proud of yourself no matter what the result. But motherfucker, that's hard to do when gravity feels stronger wherever I am than where I'm not. And he says, so I make myself do stuff. I make myself get out and run. Talks about hurting his leg. I walk a bit. Cramp works the way out. I'm tired. Don't want to go anywhere, but I leave the house. And he's like, you know, I go to my friend's house and I play games and I try real hard not to let them know how bad I feel, because we should all just have fun. And we have fun and it feels good to be around my friends. And for a little while, I forget to feel bad. And like, it just hit me that like, for me, that is, you know, a very important thing. What you said, Raph, you know, certainly like mental health is better when I create this space, no matter how I'm feeling, like to not cancel and be like, I'm going to stay home and feel bad for myself and, you know, sit here and watch somebody tell me how acetaminophen is linked to whatever. Like,
there's a lot of darkness in the world, and these are bright moments for us.
And then the importance of that. So it is, you know, that making it sacred, making space for it. Like, that's equally important. And I get it. Not everybody shares that, that idea, that concept. But like for me personally, that's what it's about, is like I've set this time aside. I'm not forgoing other responsibilities, right? I'm getting stuff done. I'm being there for my kid. I'm coaching sports, whatever. And then that's my time, right? Like, I'm not going to sit down when I get home and start playing a computer game at 5 o'clock. But when everybody's asleep and it's 10 o'clock at night, rather than going to bed myself, maybe I stay up and play for 2 hours. Yeah. Right. So very important. Troy, any commentary on kind of that?
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I struggle with, again, I think it's Raph, I like how do you make the time? Because I do always find it's like the time left over, right? And so it was interesting again today as I was listening to some productivity, I think what is it? I don't know. I can't remember which book it is. I was listening to, but it was also, it had similar concept about how do you kind of just think about, don't worry about the consequence, like making your choices and then just knowing there's consequences. Like you're saying, like, I'm going to maybe not have a night's sleep, right? And not as good a night's sleep because I'm making this a priority. And rather than saying you can't do something, just understanding like there may be some consequences and you're probably okay with that. Like it was interesting, a little mind shift. So around that, because I tend to like everything's got to get done. And then whatever time's left, I'll use for either hobby or whatever. And then sometimes there is no time left, right? Because you didn't prioritize it around that. And I don't know, right? Did all the dishes have to get done? And like there are right? Some of that is just weird. Like some of it's just my weird, OCD kind of stuff sometimes around that. And then the other one is like, I think it's also just how do you overcome create the momentum, right? Staying at rest. It's so much easier to stay at rest, right? You get done with work, and I'm like, how do you get that motivation to like now? Because once you get moving, it's kind of like exercise, right? Like
once you make it a habit or part of your schedule,
and once you get moving, you always feel better afterward. You did it, but it's getting that momentum to get there and overcoming the inertia of just it's a lot easier to just stay where you are. Doing whatever. So
the independent characters hobby challenge was big for me because if I start painting 2-3 nights a week, if I can do that for like 3 weeks, I will paint 2 or 3 nights a week forever. If I stop, I could go a month without painting. And so like that challenge was nice for me because I had this tiny little incentive and that like little part of my gamer brain that's like I want the points. I got to get those points, right? That built the habit that then sustained once it was going. And there were some nights where I just sat down and I only painted an hour. And I was like, I'm really tired. I need to go to bed. I'm going to go put one coat of red paint on every shield, and then I'm going to wash my brushes and go to bed. And do that. It's really good for you to do that.
Because you make
So that reminds me to Brendan, good friend, Brendan Melnick, Cubic Shenanigans, esteemed Age of Sigmar player. When he is looking at a project, he does this thing where he will spend time right after he wakes up. So he'll get up a little earlier and he'll spend 30 minutes kind of before work, before he gets ready for his day, at his paint desk and does, maybe it's 5 spears, maybe it's, one coat on 10 mile, whatever it is, but it's that creating that little bit of time that generally he would be sleeping or scrolling on his phone before getting ready to go to work, and dedicating it to a pursuit to then get these massive projects done, on time. So that like, obviously that doesn't work for gaming, from getting your friends together and playing a board game, but from a hobby standpoint, or reading the rules for something, or, towards that thing that makes you feel good.
Don't read Twitter, read a rule book.
It's those little other increments, Bryce did this thing when he was traveling for work all the time, where he would just bring 4 paints, a brush, and a mini wet palette on the road with him. He'd pack it in his carry-on, and then he'd paint in his hotel room. Like I was just on a work trip for, 3 nights or whatever, and you sit in your hotel room, you watch some TV, maybe you go have a drink at the bar, but you're not, you're reading, like you have this time
Yeah.
that is just kind of like you're in a new town and you don't have friends there to hang out with. Bring hobby along, right?
I
It's
painted my
this little-
Necron kill team in a Houston hotel room because it was like I only needed like 5 colors, right? It's Necrons.
Yeah.
So I got most of the painting done on a work trip.
travel hobby.
Yeah.
And, okay, so then I think one thing we touched on, and we didn't necessarily put notes here, but I do think it's worth talking about, is that balancing of family and the
Mhm.
hobby and board games. And one thing, don't play a ton of games with my wife or my son, but there are times and opportunities where I can kind of accomplish my goals of spending quality time with them and playing a game, where a lot of times gaming is leaving the house,
Mhm.
going elsewhere, or having someone come over, to play the game. But where I can do that with family is another way of I always struggle with talking about this because I don't want to make it seem like it's a chore to
Uh-huh.
be there and spend that time. But there are some times where you have spent days at home or you haven't seen your friends and like you just want to get out and go do something or, play, like do something else.
Yeah.
As much as you may love your family, I think it's the same with like when you're
Yeah.
doing the same thing at work for too long or you're doing like routine. I'm the kind of guy where 5 days in a row, I might go take the same way to work. And then one day I'm just like, I have to take a different way just to like mix it up. I don't know what that says about me, but
I don't know the number. I'm making it up, right? I won't even throw a number out there. But there's been a lot of studies recently showing that modern parents, particularly fathers, spend way, way, way more time with their kids than like our parents did and their parents. Like on the order of like 3 times or more time than that, which is good. I think that's objectively a good thing for society, and I'm not advocating for changing that. But like a lot of us turned out okay with a little bit less time. Right? Like my parents did not often sit and watch my entire sports practice. I got dropped off,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And when I take kids to soccer, there's always like I would say the majority of parents are there the entire practice watching, right? So like I can't bring a paint palette with me, but like to your point, Todd, like, there's probably some family time, and I'm not advocating for not doing family time, but where like things maybe we feel like we have to do, we don't actually have to do, and it's okay, and it might feel weird because of how society works right now, but like it's okay, and you can identify the times where it is okay, and then like add that into your bank of time you spent on a hobby or gaming or something like that.
Absolutely. And every family situation is different. So once again,
Yeah.
it's not like
Yeah.
take what we say and run with it. Some spouses may not have the same viewpoint. Some kids may need a little bit extra time and attention. We get that.
Yeah.
But just ways to approach it. And then the other thing, Raph, that you just talked about in the gaming segment, kind of that concept of weekenders. We talk about
Mhm.
conventions. It's obviously all three of us, like that's a big part of our year. There's a couple of weekends that are the breakaway and just be immersed in the people and the activities that we love, right? I equate it to I'm not a hunter. I don't go up
Mhm.
north and stay in a hunting
Yep.
cabin for a week, in a tree stand 12 hours to like shoot a deer. That's not my thing. My thing is going to Adepticon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
spending 4 days playing mini games, hanging with my
Yeah.
friends, like so we all have these things, and I think identifying it in gaming and finding those like communities to be a part of, those events to be a part of is incredibly important.
Mhm.
And then finding balance. Like before I got married, I was going to a Warhammer tournament, I think every 3rd week.
Yeah.
Obviously with a family that wasn't feasible. Like
Yeah.
you kind of change your style and your approach. How do you guys think about like the importance of those Troy, you call it the best 4 days, of
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, Gen Con, again, I've been going to Gen Con forever. We've talked about that. And I think, and more conventions, and it have been really, really cool. Adepticon has been interesting in that, like some of the prep going into that, like, is sometimes burned me out because it's been a little bit too, again, trying to find that balance and doing some of that stuff too. So sometimes you get these waves around that, and in the end, it might be more, and that's might be more of me of like, if I would have had more more of an even flow going into it, it wouldn't have been this crazy up and down around some of that stuff. So I think there's something there too around, kind of being the Brendan, kind of steady and consistent over time, rather than kind of, I'm very much a procrastinator, and I get motivated by the deadline. Even work, even my normal work, I'm kind of that, like, amazing how productive I can be when I know when something has to get done, right? Around that, but that can throw some of that stuff. And then I think the weekenders have been interesting, right? We've done that for the last I don't even know now, probably almost 5 years. So we've started to do some things like that, and those are different because they give you the focus, and it's just like the smaller group, right? To get those, but in some ways those are even better because you don't have to deal with the people that you don't want to deal with. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas a convention, you're in public, right? So,
you curate your own crowd. Yeah.
I think the weekends are awesome. If you haven't done one, you haven't been to a convention, I cannot recommend more highly giving it a try. I know they're not for everybody, but if they click, it's so hard to beat them.
Absolutely. Now, I think, staying on this topic of finding more time and playing more games, or utilizing the time you have, right? You can't always find more time, but we all have some ways we approach this and how we go about it. I think it would be worth kind of sharing our top 3, gaming, play more games hacks. We'll find a catchy way to title this maybe and put it in post. But I think if we kind of, rather than each of us sharing just all 3 at once, it'd be fun just to kind of do a little bit around the horn.
Yeah.
So I'll kick us off, and kind of my first one is it's about quantity. You find more groups of people that are playing games. It might be RPG groups, it might be game store crowds, it might be different friends like different types of games. So, prime example, Eric, one of our BOD buddies, really likes miniature games. Once a month, he tries to get somebody together to play Kill Team or Combat Patrol, like Troy's playing. But like, you see Eric post something, you jump on it because that's your chance to go play a miniatures game. You start a D&D group, you get some people playing, then somebody asks you to play in a mage campaign or a Shadowrun campaign, and you find the Pendragon campaign with Gabe online. You find these other groups so that generally you can find like an opportunity a couple times a month to get away for a game night. And obviously you curate those. If you really can't stand the people, or you don't feel comfortable, don't keep playing just to do it. But create those spaces, find those groups and communities that are up your alley, and then and stick with it. And before you know it, you'll have a schedule of gaming, and you'll be accidentally double booking yourself on like a Saturday or something. Raph, I really like some of yours, so we're gonna go to you next for.
Yeah, so we've been through various seasons with the game group, right? Where we tried, it's Tuesday night, game nights every Tuesday night, right? And then, like you said, life starts to happen, kids start to have sports, that changes. And so we went through a couple years where it felt like we didn't have very many game nights. And if we look back on it, what happened is every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when we're trying to figure out the next week, the question we were asking ourselves, either consciously or subconsciously, is game night happening this week? And so someone will be like, are we meeting next week? Well, I don't know. And then with the be some back and forth, and maybe we would land on a day, and then we'd be approaching, and it's like, well, what are we playing? Well, this, what about that? And then you get to game night, and maybe everyone would have 3 boxes with them, and you never really knew what you were going to play. And it just, it wasn't, because if game night isn't great, it makes it a little bit harder to do the next game night, even if you loved it, right? So a year or two ago, I don't remember exactly when, Matt came up with this idea of, that's it, we're not doing that anymore. Every week is someone's week. We can rotate. We tried rotating. We tried just rolling off a dice, and then whatever the dice said was your week. But the idea was next week is Raph's week for however you decide to pick it. And when it is Raph's week, Raph decides everything. Where is it? Like what day is it? Where is it? If they're hosting or not, and what game is being played. And everyone else can offer suggestions. And it doesn't have to be a game from my collection. It can even be, I want to play this other game somebody owns and I need you to teach it. But the idea is, if it's my week, I'm picking everything, and it is happening. So it's not, the question is no longer, is game night happening? It is, when is game night happening? And so obviously you don't rule like a tyrant. The first question I ask is, what is everybody's availability? But if only two people, or if one person's only available on the night that I can't go, we're going to have game night. It's going to happen. And we now have more game nights. So if you do miss one, it doesn't feel as bad.
Yeah.
And so this year we revamped it, and Matt created this, instead of a roll, he's using a dice to do it, but it's more like drawing your name out of a hat, like chits out of a hat. And so like when your name gets pulled, the statistics reshuffle so that you're less likely to be pulled again. Because we were having strings last year where someone would roll a bunch of times in a row, where someone would go months without having a game night. So now he's got a spreadsheet or whatever. But the idea is, the more you get pulled, the less likely you are to get pulled. It's not impossible, but we are gamers. You can always roll a 6. But in theory, it spreads out a little bit more evenly, and like someone is in charge of next week. And so, and then our joke is respect the roll, because if I say I want to play Scythe and someone's like, I don't like that game, you got to respect the roll. You're playing the game. Okay, like for the sake of it being easy and it not breaking down, you respect the roll, whoever's week it is, whatever game it is they're playing.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I'm going to move down to Illinois. Crash the game group.
You're
All
welcome.
right, Troy.
We'll get you in there. We'll give you some bonus draws out of the raffle bag.
Yeah. Sure. We talked a little bit about again, conventions, weekenders. I think another little spin on that is there are a lot of little conventions, little game gatherings. There's if you kind of look at that, and again, even a little bit about, I mean, most of us don't play in game stores and stuff, but that also is, you look in almost every game store has a night where they're doing some kind of something that you maybe, so I think even if it's, ideally, it's like maybe a couple guys from your game group, you go together and then you're not alone. But I mean, even me, I'm like, I don't know, I'm old now. And so like I go to concerts by myself. I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to go to, I'm going to go to Dragonfall and I'll find people there. And it's kind of like, again, our gaming group in the area, it's a small world. Like you go to these conventions and you're like, you end up running into people that because it's all the same group around some of that. So I think there's an angle there around leveraging the public, right? These public events and stuff like that. And if you really want to, you probably can find something a couple times a month where you can join up and make sure that you're continuing to play if your local group doesn't meet that often, or you're struggling to get together.
I like it. I'm going to share what I'm going to call the Field of Dreams approach. If you build it, he will come.
Yeah.
Be the annoying one. Be the one that, and this is hard because personally, there are times where I'm like, my friends have to be annoyed that I'm asking them if they are available to play games, and I take it very self-consciously that like I'm once again, here I am again saying, will you play games with me? Week after week, or you give it a few weeks and nobody's setting, and you're like, okay, here we go, I'm doing it again.
I don't have any friends anymore.
Right. None of my friends want to hang out, so I'm just gonna go be sad. But like it is incredibly important if this is important to you and you want to do this, like to be willing to like make the plan.
Yeah.
And I that's why when you shared that kind of respect the role and like share the load, I think that's equally important. And and fitting for this discussion, but like also be willing to be the one to create, like to start the tradition, right? Get people gathered, do it consistently, offer up ideas, whatever it might be, because it's not always going to be, plans fall into your lap. So, be Ray Kinsella and put the game table in your house, or baseball field in your cornfield.
I like
All
it.
right.
So the one I want to say, it kind of plays on both of those. What I was just saying is not to be afraid to split the party, right? There's an old blog, and I haven't read it in God knows how long. So maybe it's super problematic now. I don't know. Don't get mad at me if it is. But it was called The Geek Social Fallacies, and it was these 5 fallacies that the blog author felt, geeks and nerds fell prey to when it came to socializing, and he was tying it to like what it was like being a nerd growing up when we were kids, and it isn't the same as it is now, right? Things like just because you're friends with somebody doesn't mean your friends are going to be friends with somebody. Like, friendship isn't transitive, right? That's one of the social fallacies. And so one of the social fallacies that geeks hold on to is that everyone always needs to be included in everything, and you can't do anything as a small subgroup. And kind of tangential to that is something like with this role thing, is like something that held us back from gaming is like, well, we couldn't find a night that everyone was available. And so instead of some people gaming, no one gamed, right? Or maybe I would set up a little 2-player night, or maybe if you have another game group, you get to go play with that other game group. For a lot of people, that meant gaming didn't happen. And so like, don't be afraid. Don't feel like you can't have game night if everyone in your game group can't make it. Don't be afraid to split the party, because if, like I said, with ours, with the weekly rotation, there will be weeks I miss because of my schedule, but then it all comes out in the wash. Everyone will end up kind of missing the same amount, but there's a game night every week. And so like, when you can make it, there's not going to be any weeks where you're like, I'm free, I got no commitments, I'm ready to game, and then it falls apart because you feel obligated to get everybody together. So like, that's like my tip trick is like, don't be afraid to split the party, have a 2-player game night. I've done those plenty of times when no one's available. You squeeze, a mini game in, or just a little bit of magic or something.
Absolutely. Split the party.
Yeah.
I encourage that even in my D&D games. Good things happen when you split the party.
Never split a party in a tie.
Yeah. No, right. Yeah.
It would be terrified.
I'll throw in, a couple. And it's interesting. I mean, I don't know, again, maybe pre-pandemic times, we used to do this a lot more. I kind of had a work game group, and I mentioned we kind of brought that back, or we've done that, but there were again, we always mention Neil, who's still there, and Mike was another guy who doesn't work there anymore. But we would, again, kind of couple every other week or so. We would get together around work. It was very low barrier entry, because we'd meet after work in usually one of the places around work in one of our buildings where we had places to do it. And the commitment, it was a couple extra hours after work. So it wasn't like, and again, all you did was make your commute shorter because you weren't traveling during some of that. But that just got a lot more games played and created another game night in some ways around that. And again, it's kind of I think partly it's because we don't all work downtown. We don't all go into office every day anymore. And I think that might be part of it, is like we're not all on the same schedule anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it a little harder to coordinate those things a little bit. And so it's interesting, like just that little bit of extra friction has kind of stopped that from happening. But we do get still that there are people in the office that do play kind of smaller games, but we'll at lunch break, play some of those games that are, kind of the party 15-minute kind of games, or some of that, or like Crew or Coop, or some of those, or Coup, or some of those things that play pretty quickly that people can get in. Because nobody really gets a lunch hour anymore, right? It's a lunch whatever, right? I know I don't know I don't get anything usually, but we'll see.
I get a lunch 15 minutes sometimes,
right.
or a lunch eat while I work.
I hope walk somewhere, grab something, bring it back, and eat off camera for an hour.
Yeah. I hope that a meeting gets canceled so I can go get something to eat, right? That's kind of those things. But those are different problems. So
Um, kind of the last one. I didn't even write this down, but the hack is, I think the format of gaming has changed. And what I mean by that is 10 years ago, even, like if we had said we were going to have an online D&D campaign, there weren't tools in place, but like being able to use other mediums, especially for RPGs. I think board games were starting to see some improvement, but like my old D&D campaign with Matt and Elena pre their moving to Seattle, where we were going to Madison or playing in person in Waukesha. Like when they moved, that wasn't feasible. When my brother was working at various resorts, and in Arizona or Colorado or whatever, now North Carolina, like you can't get together and play.
Yeah.
But what like Roll20 and Discord and other kind of online tabletops have allowed for is that kind of remote gaming. And as much as we live online lives now and our video calls and our podcasts and everything is Zoom or Teams, or like we live in that way. So sometimes it's nice to just play in person. But when that's not possible, like find the tools, they're out there. Many of them are free. Ways to do it, to get the games played where you don't have to be going to Troy's house and sitting around a table. You can schedule a 2-hour online session and
reduce the friction a little bit.
Yeah.
My last one is kind of along those lines. Is so if the framing here is like, how do we play more games? A great way to do that is to be flexible with the games you're willing to play. If you're only willing to play Frosthaven, that's the only game in the whole world you want to play, you're probably not going to play as much as somebody who will play anything, or even as much as someone who will only play Mantis, or something that's like really light and easy to play, right? So be flexible. That's something that's been kind of nice with our game group is, there's 5 of us and we have similar tastes, but they're not identical. And so there's some nights where the game being chosen is just not my favorite game, or not, there's very few games I won't play, but there's some games where I'm kind of like, well, but you know what? We're gaming. It's like pizza, right? A bad night of gaming is typically better than no gaming at all. I feel that way anyway. Just a couple games, maybe Zaya excluded.
Keyforge.
Yeah, there you go. Your Keyforge.
I won't play Keyforge. I'd rather stay home alone.
We'll see if any of my friends listened. Goes for them. But so be flexible. Be willing to step out of your comfort zone. Maybe what you really want to do is play Warhammer, but there is a third person or a fourth person that night. Go to game night anyway and keep those connections going, the momentum going, and then that kind of stuff will come around, and you'll get to play your favorite game kind of eventually. Be flexible. We take Strike, which is a silly lighthearted dice game, and Mantis to the brewery all the time, because that's all of the people in my family like to play that, and so that's great. It's not maybe it's not the depth of a game that would be my dream game, but it's awesome at a brewery and it works out.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just envisioning this game night where Ty gets totally trolled with Keyforge and Love Letter as a marathon.
Come on, Ty, be flexible and respect the role. Game at Adepticon game night, we're going to be playing Love Letter with Keyforge cards.
Oh, wow. Good news. Adepticon's in Milwaukee. I'm 20 minutes from home. Whew.
So my last one, I'll build on that again. Probably not like some huge thing, but mine I had here was force family members to play with you, and I don't really mean force them, but I think Ty, you talked a little bit about that. Like it's fun, and I think Raph, you see it too. Like the opportunities when I can play with my daughter, and it's not forcing at all, because I'm just trying to see when, and it's been really cool around. Like D&D is like the one thing I can get her. And what's interesting, she's a social animal. So it's not play a game with dad. If we go somewhere to play a game together with other people, that's cool. Like when I took her to Gen Con a couple years ago, she even like this year, like when can we go to Gen Con? Why? Because it's not just playing games with dad. It's playing games with dad at a place with more people, other people, and new things and some of that. So again, trying to find, and then I'm kind of looking for, where's the thing that kind of grabs her, so that then she's like, oh, yeah, Dad, let's me and you play this thing that we played somewhere else. But it's kind of finding that friction. So, and again, I'm lucky enough, right? I've always had my brothers and stuff like that. And so it's like playing with my family was kind of the only when I was growing up, because we lived out in the middle of nowhere. There was no things, but luckily we had each other, and we did, that's what got this whole thing started a million years ago. So,
all right. So if you're out there and you have a gaming group and you're looking for a player, let me know. If it's within an hour, I'll show up. No, some great thoughts and advice there. Certainly, look forward to any comments or questions. We're always enjoying seeing people send us stuff or messages about what we're sharing. So this is very topical to our show close, where we also talk about some upcoming events where we will be at in some capacity, playing games, hanging out. So right around the corner, Troy, you touched on going down the Dragonfall and doing that solo. It looks like that is the same weekend as Dragon Days Fantasy Festival, the kind of celebration of the birthplace of D&D in Lake Geneva.
Yep. So I am dragging my family along with me for that weekend to hang out. So
excellent. And is that at the Grand Geneva, the Dragonfall?
Yep.
The hotel and resort there. So if you like swimming or golf, the course is probably still open. Go, check out Dragonfall along with miniature games and other fun stuff. Are you playing anything?
No, I might do an art class or something like that. But yeah, I'm going to probably go hang out in downtown Geneva and check out some of the D&D Dragon Days stuff, and then come over and see. There'll be people we know playing at Dragonfall in different things. And so I'll hang out and say hi to them and do a little shopping.
Pretty sure Mark Ramchek is still running the AOS stuff. So, let's see. Then what I think is one of the greatest game conventions currently on the circuit, Gamehole Con in Madison, October 16th through the 19th. That is Alex Kammer and his what started as a gaming group and is now a convention for thousands of people at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison. I'll be there the whole time. Got my badge. I think I'll be level 11 now. Troy, is this level 12 year for you?
No, I think we're the same. Yeah, I think we're both. Yeah, we're like 10 or 11. I don't know what my official one is, if it's 10 or 11. I missed one year. I didn't pre-reg, so I didn't get my thing. But yeah.
Do you have another like 2-digit badge number with Gen Con?
No, we were just there in the what's kind of cool is they do keep track of you, and they like level you up every year that you pre-regged at least, and they put it on your badge. But yeah, I dragged Ty there when it was just in the little Sheraton hotel lobby. It was literally in the lobby. That was like it for that first year. Yeah.
Very, very small that first year. Now it's huge, and they get all sorts of crazy industry guests. Raph, you got to find a way to come up to Madison for
I know. I can't. I will be returning from a nice trip. I'm going to see my sister. She lives in Singapore, so I'm taking a trip out to see her, and then I have a complicated work situation until basically Thanksgiving, more or less. So I definitely can't make those, unfortunately, as much as I would love to.
We'll FaceTime you.
There we go.
And then so finally, Dragonfall, Gamehole, and RockCon have taken what should have been the easy path to see years ago, when they used to all be on like the same weekend and have different weekends. So then the first weekend in November, you've got RockCon in Rockford, Illinois, November 7th to the 9th. Usually more historical minis and miniature game theme there, but quite a bit of Pathfinder. I know Dan from Cubic Shenanigans will usually make that his Pathfinder convention and go play. But yeah, are you planning on going to that, Troy?
I don't know. I don't have any real plans, but now that it's not, it used to be like on top of the other ones, and we used to go all the time. It was funny, like it used to be on my circuit. When Dragon Ball didn't exist and Gamehole didn't exist either, like RockCon was kind of our fall convention. We used to go because it started again very miniature centric around that, and you have a good mix of historicals and and kind of the 40K. It used to be a big 40K group that used to do stuff down there all the time. So,
Raph, any other gaming events or anything on your radar, or is that kind of
No, this weekender was the big one I was looking forward to. Nothing. I'm still hoping I can make Adepticon next year, but everything is in limbo until like next fall, probably. As far as planning or making any real attempts at being able to commit to something.
Don't be surprised the BOD van shows up. There's no windows, and we roll you off the carpet and take you away.
That's fine.
So kidnappings are excusable absences from
they are
from work. You don't get a doctor's note, you get a
ransom note, cut out magazines.
Yep.
No, but if it does happen where I go almost a full year without anything, you better believe I'm going to take like 5 days and host RAFCon somewhere in the Midwest.
Gamers Ranch outside in Missouri.
Have you guys been to or seen it's like Ravenswood Castle or something like that? It's some here
Ohio.
I think it's Ohio. Yeah, it's like
it looks pretty cool.
Castle with a similar big game room, big game library, and some like little private like 2-person rooms, like hobbit holes, like on the property.
Yeah.
I'll book that out. There's a bar, so
I'm in.
That's all it needs.
All right, so we like reviews, we like comments. Like and subscribe on iTunes, but also go over to Goonhammer and check out the media network. Also, certainly if you are considering becoming a patron on Goonhammer's Patreon, you will gain access to wonderful new podcasts, one of which is the Campaign Trail, where Raph and myself will occasionally talk about campaign games. Newest episode coming soon. I think
next week,
we've got
Monday.
a special guest interview. But check that out. Always some interesting stuff on Goonhammer. And then info@basementofdeath.com. Not much social media. Raph, anywhere else people can find you?
Raf Paints on Instagram at RAF Paints is my Instagram. It's pretty sporadic, but I am about to put up some cool tie-dyed gnomes as soon as I can find time to take pictures on a black background, which always takes me like 2 hours. So it might be after my trip, but subscribe now and you'll see it eventually. Or follow or whatever it is on Instagram. I don't really do social media anymore.
Yeah. I mean, who needs it?
Yeah.
Troy, any final thoughts, things to find you? Are you going to wear like a Hi, I'm Troy t-shirt when you go to Dragonfall or anything?
No. But we'll see. I might have a BOD shirt on every once in a while. We'll see. Yep.
Well, excellent to be here. Episode 95 in the can. Thank you guys for sharing your thoughts on how I can play more games. Always appreciated.
Yeah.
Episode 95 ties self-serving.
All right, friends. Keep the dice rolling, the drinks on ice, and no matter what, keep playing and slaying.